Hey everyone, as I promised in this current series of Rockstar Doctor Life, I wanted to introduce you to people who can not only, share their stories from the trenches of being in clinical practice, but also people who can add to our lives personally and professionally. And today I want to introduce you to Deslee Denne. She is a master herbalist. She's got a really great story. She's living I'm going to say a really great life, full of the ups and downs of family and business. And I think she has a lot of wisdom to offer us, but particularly in the world of herbs and how they can help our own health as well as the health of people in our practices. So, welcome to the show, Deslee.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here.
So, I'd love to get reacquainted for myself, but also for listeners and viewers. Tell us a little bit about who you are right now, and then we'll dive into how'd you get here and some of your training and some of your expertise.
Sure. I think first and foremost, right now in this season of my life, I'm a mother of three children and we homeschool. So the major part of my work, my day is taken up doing that job. And then on the side, when I can squeeze it in between kids moments, is I work as a herbalist and a medical qigong therapist, primarily online right now, just because that's what time permits me.
Hmm. And before you were full on motherhood,
Yes.
you were practicing, in a clinical space and you have some clinical expertise. So, if you could go back and start with how did you get into herbalism,
Yep.
and what are some of the things that have, challenged you along the way as far as, your ability to practice with people?
Sure. Yeah, I think my journey began quite a long time ago as a teenager. I was a very competitive athlete, and that experience got me very interested in how the human body works. So I remember being in high school, learning some weight training and learning from coaches and dietitians at through my gymnastics got me very interested in how the body works, how to fuel the body for sport. And that led me into going to university for kinesiology and health sciences. So
Mm.
my original intention was to doing that, becoming a sports medicine doctor, or I was even looking at chiropractic medicine actually as a
Yeah.
beginning. And then while I was in university, we had a guest lecturer come in to talk to us about traditional Chinese medicine. And during this talk, the TCM doctor told us about the concept of qi and gave us
Mhm.
some exercises, which I now know were qigong exercises to start to
Mm.
move the qi in the body and feel the qi. And I
Mhm.
remember doing an exercise, feeling this ball of energy in between my hands while she was guiding us through it.
Mm.
And it just like lit my whole world up. I was like, what is this? This is something I've always felt. I've always known it in my body what that was, and I
Yeah.
could never put a pinpoint on what it was. So that changed my whole life trajectory, and I left the route going towards chiropractic medicine or sports medicine and went
Yeah.
into traditional Chinese medicine.
Yeah. You
Was
have that calling. You have that deep inside you, clearly.
Yeah, it just something I have always felt, but I didn't even know what it was because we didn't have a word for it here in
I
Canada.
mean, I've got obviously a limited understanding in traditional Chinese medicine. I've used it personally. I've recommended it to people. Actually, my acupuncturist I see locally, Deslee lives in my community here. I work with my acupuncturist because of your recommendation. So I feel like there's a lot of similarities in the underlying understanding of the power of the body to heal, of restoring, natural function rather than something from the outside in. Traditional Chinese medicine seems also to be able to honor the body's ability to self-direct and self-heal and self-regulate. Would you say so?
I would absolutely agree. The way that I like to explain it to people is that the philosophy of the medicine just comes from a different place. So, my understanding of it is that acupuncture and qigong, and even the way that they work with herbs and TCM, comes from working on the body when it's living. And because within the culture, they didn't agree with dissecting the body and looking at a dead body. So they would work on living bodies and see what
Mm,
worked and what didn't to keep the body living and keep the body vital. And then over trial and error over thousands of years. Whereas in allopathic medicine, we looked at dissecting cadavers and exploring inside, which is something I also did myself, and looking at how the body works, but
yeah.
it's on a dead body. So it's almost like two different philosophies that are anchored in
Mm.
a different place, where one is how do we not die, and the other one is how do we keep living. So there's benefits for both, but I found that was the main thing with TCM and the philosophy.
Yeah, it's more vitalistic in its philosophy, right? Honoring the body's inherent energy, flow, sense of vitality and its desire. I mean, sometimes I think, we're either the body's either going towards death and decay and breakdown, or it's going towards health and healing. And
Exactly.
we need to see where do people fit in that continuum there. So, in your experience working with people, so you were trained in TCM,
Trained in
and
TCM,
yeah.
uh, was beginning my herbal practice in TCM, but because I live in Canada, there seemed like a bit of a disconnect between working with herbs that weren't native or local to where I live and where I was born. And when I finished my Chinese medicine studies, I ended up traveling down to Peru and living down in South America for a couple of years, learning from South American herbalists and grandmothers and grandfathers that work with various plant medicines down there.
Mm.
And that sparked another aspect of working with herbs by looking at the plant as a living being. And
Mm.
I learned down there how to begin communicating with plants and listening to their chi or their my intuition, but listening to how the plants work directly from a living being, such as a plant. So that
Yeah.
opened up another aspect of herbs and working with plants. So when I returned from Peru, I began growing local herbs and learning the medicines that are from where I live.
And now you work with people one on one to help them rebalance their health. Do you have a particular specialty?
I would say primarily women's health, menstrual health, fertility,
Yeah.
menopause. That's an area that I really love just because so many women need support and
Hmm.
there's a big business for that, but there's a lot of things that we can do simply ourselves in terms of
Hmm.
working with herbs. So I like to support and empower women, especially how to heal themselves with herbs or support themselves with herbs. But I do have a vast working, like I do work with many different types of people. Prior
Hmm.
to motherhood, I also had an oncology specialization that I worked in, but it's a little bit just too much for me to handle right now with
You're
kids.
right. So it must be different though. I mean, climate wise. So if you worked with people in Peru and South America versus our climate here in Canada, we're limited in, I guess, unless you have a greenhouse, like what you can actually grow. And so, how important it is for people to find good sources if they're going to start working with herbs and herbal medicine.
Yeah, I mean, finding the best source and the most local source that you can to where you live is, in my opinion, the most important thing. The thing that I love about our local herbs is that many of them are already growing outside in our backyard or in
Mm.
local green spaces, and we just need to learn how to identify them. There's many herbs that are classified as weeds here, which are actually very powerful medicines, very nourishing. They can be very supportive, and
Hmm.
it's accessible. You just need to know how to find it.
I have some nettle growing in my backyard, and my gardener keeps ripping it out. And I'm like, you know what? I put it there intentionally. Like, so
Yeah, they don't know it's just a weed. And I
yeah.
think in our culture, like it's very, maybe it's human nature even. Like we see these exotic herbs and these big plants like ashwagandha or
Mm.
ginseng, and it's like this big, amazing plant that you think is so great. And they
Hmm.
are great plants, but they don't grow here. And so we
Right.
kind of sensationalize these other herbs where we have to go and could buy them from a far off place, and really actually
Hmm.
you can get the same benefits by using nettle here, for example.
Right. So is there, that was, just out of my own curiosity, like, do people's bodies biologically tend to tune to the herbs that are grown near them? Like, does
I would
that make
say
sense? Like, do you read in my mind what
yes.
I'm thinking with that question? Like, my body's going to respond to nettle, but if I lived in Peru, it would respond to a different herb that's grown in my area geographically.
I personally believe that's true. The medicine that your body needs will tend to show up near where you're living. A good example of that is during the COVID times, there was mullein, which is also seen as a weed. You can find it on the ditches everywhere you go here.
Yeah.
There was so much mullein growing that first year of COVID,
Huh.
like all over the place. And that's a lung tonic, lung support, like for dry coughs, especially. So,
Yeah.
like these herbs, it's almost like a reciprocal relationship. Our bodies become attuned to them because we're living here. We can get more out of it. And
Mm-hmm.
the plants also just show up when you need them.
I remember one time I did a walk with a local naturopathic in doctor in my community here, and it was called the Weed Walk. And literally, we walked on some of the local trails. And what was amazing was she would show us where poison ivy was growing, but then right next to poison ivy was jewelweed.
Jewelweed, yep.
Yeah, which is the remedy for poison ivy. And, it's
Yes.
just another, reminder to all of us like nature is inherently incredibly amazing,
Yeah,
right?
it's
Like
true.
you don't need to look too far. I mean, sure, if you are the kind of person that believes pharmaceuticals are the way to go, you do you. It's not my first route of recommendations for anyone, you might or in my own family, but a lot of times even pharmaceuticals have come from plants
Yeah.
eventually at one point, right?
Yeah, a great example of that is acetaminophen. So,
Mm,
or aspirin, sorry, that not acetaminophen, aspirin, which comes from the white willow bark, which is a painkiller.
right.
Yeah,
Right.
they
I think I
extract.
actually have white willow bark in my house. I think it was
I,
after one of my sons broke a bone. And, they have not been raised to take medication or drugs, even over the counter stuff like that. And that's what we got at the health food store. So
yep.
when you're in your experience working with people, um, you must have some do's and don'ts. Like you must see, especially now in this world of information overload, and unfortunately, sources that we can't always trust their accuracy. What are some things that you see, or maybe feedback that you've gotten from clients you've worked with that you're like, no, 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 don't do that. Like, can we run through a few like do's and don'ts about using herbal medicine?
Yeah, I would say my big don't is don't take all the things.
Okay.
It's a common for folks to think like natural. Oh, this is natural and like this one should be good and that one should be good. And then you're just taking like 15 teas and 25 supplements. That can overload your system and cause other problems or exacerbate the problem that you're trying to solve.
Hmm.
I like to go with like a one herb approach. Get to know one herb, do one infusion rather than a blend so you can see how it feels, see how your body's reacting to it. Then you know
Hmm.
for sure if it's working or not and you're not overwhelming your system. So that's my big go-to.
Yeah.
Another big go-to from the supplement realm is, you know, when you're looking at a supplement, let's say like turmeric, for example, you can go to the health food store and get a curcumin supplement, and that definitely is great and it works in many ways. But I think that you can gain so much more by working with the whole plant. So,
Hmm.
like holding the root in your hand, getting to know it, taste it, cook with it, grow it even in a pot. Like get to know the whole entire plant and work with that as opposed to going out and buying a supplement. And I find that's also more accessible for folks because all of us can pretty much grow a plant in a cup of water or a little bit of dirt on our windowsill.
Hmm.
And I find that you get a lot more benefit working as a synergistic whole rather than pulling the one constituent out of a
Hmm.
supplement.
And so, do you get what you pay for when you buy herbs?
I think so. However, I mean, growing your own is the best route.
Yeah.
I really try to teach folks how easy it can be to grow your own because you're in relationship, you're pouring your energy and your intention into the plant that you're growing and harvesting for medicine.
Hmm.
I also think learning to get to know your local herbalists and see which
Hmm.
ones you connect with, because some you will and some you won't. And
Hmm.
if they're producing medicine, start from there locally. Then
Right.
obviously you want to look for something that's like wild crafted or organic, as local as you can. But if you can't find local, some online sources
Hmm.
can be helpful.
Because I know that when I was buying herbs, particularly during my pregnancies, and even now, like if I'd rather use a herbal infusion, or really like a really strong tea rather than, something else outside in for my body. And I know there was concerns with some herbs, being irradiated and, are they grown with pesticides? And sometimes it can be really hard for people to know the sources and to trust what the packages say.
Yeah, exactly. I That's why I usually tend to recommend like try checking with your local herbalists. You
Hmm.
can usually find them, and even if you're in a small town, you can find them. Definitely in cities, you can find local herbalists. Etsy is a neat place that I like to go if I'm looking for a herb because you can find
Okay.
the location. I don't produce herbs for sale myself, so if I'm looking for something that I haven't made, I'll usually try Etsy first because you can find a local herbalist, get to know them, see, ask them what their practices
Interesting.
are.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, a place that I go in town here is a tea shop, right?
Yeah.
And they tend to have a lot more medicinal herbs than I ever even knew about. So sometimes if you're looking for a local herbalist, it may come in a different package, right? It may not be someone that actually has a sign on their door that says I'm a herbalist. It's going to
Yeah.
be someone else that's got a connection.
Yeah.
And so are there herbs that you are using in your family? Like you've got a young family, young children. Are there ones that you are like, I got to always have these ones on hand?
Yeah, my number one on hand that we always have several bottles in tincture form is echinacea. It's
Mm,
echinacea angustifolia is the type that we have here. It's the has the most medicinal qualities to it rather than the other strains. That's my go-to for any type of an infection. So the way that echinacea works is it boosts your immune system, causes your body to produce more white blood cells. So I go to that for any type of like sinus infection, chest infections, throat infections, a scrape or a cut from the kids that won't heal, ear
mm,
infections, something like that where you need to really fight an infection because it seems
mm.
with kids that that's the stage that we're in. So
Yeah,
that one I always have. Raw honey I always have because that's an easy one for young children that are over the age of 2.
yeah.
And garlic is something we cook with, so we always have that. And garlic sometimes if an infection is pretty in the body already and echinacea isn't doing enough to get you over that first little hump, we're talking like
Mm,
fever and chills and they're not feeling so great, then I
mm.
will chop up a clove of garlic with a little bit of honey and that those are like three very easy go-tos that I have on hand always.
Yeah, and so if someone doesn't want to make their own tinctures,
Yeah.
some people are feeling busy, overwhelmed. They already got other things on their list. They just want to know what to recommend. They could purchase an echinacea tincture and have that on hand.
Yeah, yeah, there is like I'd recommend local herbalists, but there is a company, St. Francis Herbs.
Mm,
I'm not affiliated with them. I just like their products. It's a Canadian
yeah,
company. They make good, strong tinctures. So if
yeah.
I haven't made something I can't find it, I'll usually go to that. And most health food stores will carry that brand, so you can just call ahead to your local
Hmm.
store. Um,
And if there were herbs that, I mean, obviously, I'm a chiropractor. A lot of the people listening to this are chiropractors or other allied healthcare professionals. Are there general herbs that you think would be supportive in our clinical practice? Let's say things that can help people reduce inflammation, pain, support overall wellness. Obviously, listeners, you've got to have a proper assessment done. We're not recommending this. This is a treatment for anything. We want you just to be informed and empowered to investigate this stuff a little bit further on your own. But are there any things that are generally safe for everyone to take?
Yeah, most things that qualify as food or as spices, those are generally safe to take. So, like we mentioned turmeric before, that's great for
Yeah.
inflammation. Um, Other ones that I like to take, like nettle, which is almost like a salad green, that's great for nourishment. It's great for
Mhm.
iron production if you're feeling like really drawn out and down. Red clover is another one that I really love. That's a
Mhm.
gentle one, also considered like a food. There's oat grass, which is nourishing. Um,
Mhm. Is that the same as oat straw?
Sorry, oat straw. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
I know that I took that a lot postpartum with my second, and it was really nourishing, but also very calming and
yes, yeah.
very zen and very like chamomile almost.
Yeah, it has a very gentle,
Yeah.
nourishing quality to it. Another great
Yeah.
one is lemon balm, which
Mm.
is, it's also very, very gentle. You can eat it, you can drink it, to your heart's content.
Yeah.
It's a nervine, so it also has a calming aspect. So if you have a patient who is like really high strung or the nervous system is just on fire,
Yeah.
you can recommend probably looking into something like that one, chamomile, another one, gentle herbs. I've used it even on my infants when they were
Mhm.
teething. That can be a good one for pain.
Is there a different benefit for people or different times you'd recommend them ingesting something as a food versus as a tincture or tonic or tea?
Well, I think the scale kind of goes from like from food to tea to herbal infusion, which is a longer brewed infusion over several hours with a lid
Mm,
on to keep the essential oils inside and the volatile oils inside. Then we have something like a tincture, starting with something that's in glycerin, which is gentler
mm,
on the body, and then maybe an alcohol tincture. Another great gentle way to work with herbs is infusing herbs in oil, which is something chiropractors
mm,
might like to do or add into their practice because we can all infuse just a herb with a little bit of olive oil or another carrier oil and then,
mm.
put that directly on the body. That can be soothing too.
I think that one of the books I'm reading right now is all about different parts of the world and how they encourage healing different ways. And is it true that Ayurvedic medicine has a lot of oiling on the body where they will have oils that are infused again with different herbs or medicinal plants?
Yeah.
Is that the same thing like you're talking about?
Yeah, Ayurveda, I don't know much about the internal workings of Ayurveda, but yes, they do use a lot of infused oils and
Right.
Myself as a herbalist, it's something I'm diving a little bit deeper into now, just out of my own curiosity.
Hmm.
They're very gentle medicine, but it's also subtle. So we're kind of like talking about the realm of even homeopathics, where
Right.
you're getting very little like physical herbal aspect into the oil, but you're getting these subtle levels of the plant and infusing that in through the skin, so you're not going through the digestive tract too.
Right. So that by applying these oils that are infused with herbs onto your skin, the skin is going to absorb it as an organ itself, and it's going to, create those healing responses in a gentler way, is what you're saying.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And certain oils, like castor oil is a good example. Castor's not a plant that you would
Hmm.
want to ingest. It can be poisonous. It can make you sick if you put
It
the
can
oil.
induce labor,
It
right?
can induce labor, although I really wouldn't recommend that one.
I
There's
wouldn't
other
recommend it
herbs that
either.
are, there's another combination of herbs for labor induction that I would use that is
Yeah.
much more gentler on your digestive system. But castor oil
Yeah.
is an incredible anti-inflammatory.
Hmm.
So I've used it on everything from mastitis when I've been nursing my children to like an injury, sore
Hmm.
muscles, liver detox. It can be really, really beneficial. And it's
Hmm.
something that you don't want to put in your body, but it will be absorbed through the skin and it works.
Yeah, is it? I recommend it all the time because I think it's just such good lymphatic support.
Yes,
So I know that a lot of women, especially in their perimenopausal years, if their liver starts to get a little sluggish, doing liver packs with castor oil can be really recommended. If people have bowel issues, like a slow bowel system, sometimes doing castor oil on your belly before you go to bed. I mean, I even if I get any kind of illness or anything, I'll put it on my glands, underneath
yeah,
my jawline, or it's really easy and again inexpensive. It's just supporting your body's inherent abilities.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah, that's
exactly.
something we always have on hand. Do you think there are seasons like, obviously in Canada here, we have four seasons and different things are growing, in the different seasons. Do you think there's something to be said for us following different herbal patterns with the seasons? Like, are there things that our body naturally would want more of in the summer that naturally grows here, as well as in the winter? And not a lot of things grow here in the winter, but like, is there that kind of approach to looking at herbalism too?
Definitely, that's the way I like to work with herbalism is following along with the season. So now
Hmm.
we're in the springtime, and here in Canada, like things are literally just coming above the ground. In traditional Chinese medicine, the springtime is the time of the liver, the time of detoxification. So you're looking at eating a lot of greens, a lot of sprouts,
Mm.
things like dandelion, which
Dandelion, radicchio, the bitters, the
yeah,
things
the
that are,
dandelions
yeah.
just popped this last week. That's an amazing herb to take at this time of year. You're starting to clear out from just holding on to everything through the winter. So
Hmm.
going with what is coming up above the ground as it's
Hmm.
coming makes sense.
Hmm.
Then, we move into summer. There's lots of flowers and flower medicine, berries, berry medicine. Those sorts of things are picked at that time. And then when we move into the fall, the energy of the plants leaves the stems and the leaves and goes down into the roots.
Hmm.
That's the time that you would harvest your root medicine, things like echinacea root or
Hmm.
turmeric, if you're growing turmeric, all of those things that come into the ground. And then
Hmm.
what I like to do in the winter when there's no plants growing where we live is I go to food as medicine. So then
Hmm.
I'm looking at cooking like warm stews with warming dried herbs, working with root vegetables, and then also working with meat and bone broths and
Hmm.
bones, things that we're saving through the winter. And so
Hmm.
food becomes more of the medicine than taking
Hmm.
green plants at that time of year.
Yeah, it's just so much about nourishing the body from the inside out, right? And I love the approach of eating in the seasons. Like I don't know how I started it. Like I think it was just a gradual, we start shopping at the farmers markets, what I've been doing for 10, 15, almost 20 years. And then it's like, well, I'm not buying tomatoes in February because there's nothing that compares to the tomatoes you get seasonally when they are grown locally, right? And so you just strawberries, asparagus, like the winter turnip, like all the winter root vegetables. I feel like just eating in season it's given me an appreciation too of the different foods and how my body responds to them, but also just absence makes the heart grow fonder kind of thing, right? Like you appreciate the foods when you have them, rather than having them easy access all the time.
It's true, yeah. And I think also like our access to all this food all the time contributes to disconnecting us from our body and
Hmm.
from the way that our bodies cycle with nature.
Hmm.
So yeah, I agree. I agree.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so best case scenario, we are all going to start to have Okay, so what would be a plant that everyone, okay, we have garlic hopefully in our houses and we have raw honey hopefully in our houses. If you don't, start with those two things. But if someone wanted to start growing their own, I know that's your top recommendation is to start growing our own herbs. Um, let's keep it super simple because, I've got listeners here who are running multiple practices and big families to people who are downsizing and scaling. And we've got people's busyness level is all over the place here. So if someone doesn't have a lot of time and they want to just get started and they want to grow something, which one should they pick?
Just one?
Like,
I would say I'm a bit. I heard I was talking with another herbalist today, and she coined the term a bog witch because her style of gardening is very similar to mine. You just
yeah,
chaotic, and you like. I don't want a plant growing in my garden that's going to require a lot of effort because I'm also
right.
busy. So
Yeah,
so local native plants are your best go-to.
right.
Echinacea is a local plant to where we
Hmm.
live. And lemon balm, like I mentioned before, is very, very easy to grow and it doesn't
Right.
disappear once you plant it. It'll just show up
Hmm.
everywhere.
Yeah.
What's another one that I like to grow? Nettles are good. Marshmallow is another one we haven't mentioned yet. That
Mm.
grows where we are here. Um, some roses, don't like wild rose is an easy one to grow.
Mm.
What
Oh
else?
yeah, because then you can get the rose hips.
Yes, you get the rose hips
Yeah.
and the petals are also great medicine in the spring.
Yeah.
So that's
I
a great.
have picked rose hips. My girlfriend here introduced me to them in the area, and then I dry them, and I've made rose hip oil, which is great for your skin, and I put them in different infusions because they're really high in vitamin C, right?
Yes, yeah, they're great
Fun.
for the winter vitamin C.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Okay,
then
so listeners,
oh,
go ahead.
I was going to say one more just for the mothers out there, which is motherwort.
Yeah.
Another weed you plant it and it'll just show up all over your garden, and that one's a great support for your postpartum phase in motherhood or
Yeah.
anytime you're having issues with insomnia or anxiety, depression, it can be
Mm.
supportive.
So really what I hope you're getting listeners is like just start getting more curious about plants, right? They don't have to be plant medicine like going and doing an ayahuasca journey, right? The plant
Yeah.
medicines are around us all the time and there's simple ways, very inexpensive obviously, to add to your life, add to your practice, add to your knowledge. Hopefully this conversation has sparked a little bit of interest in you in the power of plants to support our bodies and our function. There's tons of great books and resources, and you've got some great courses as well. So I hope you've kind of I hope your curiosity has been piqued a little bit by this conversation. Um, we kind of can't obviously recommend herbs for everyone, right? And as we said earlier, you're all at different stages of life, of stages of interest, even. You might not want to grow things. I love growing things because for me, it's a bit of a fun hobby. I love seeing things grow and come to life. And I like the whole process of the seed, harvesting it, drying it even. I like, as you said earlier, the whole life cycle of observing it and seeing how that's knowing it's going to benefit my family. There's something touch oriented and really connected that it makes me feel. But listeners, that might not be you. So I hope that you just take some of this information and file it in your brain for a time when you're ready to investigate a little bit more. Um, let's switch over and talk about like your journey in this whole path. Like you pressed pause a little bit in your motherhood, which seems very aligned with your views on natural health. How has that felt for you? Like, are you anxious to get back working with people? Are you frustrated? Have you accepted it? A lot of people listening have to juggle their career a little bit too with work they love with their raising their family.
Yeah, I would say probably at the beginning of my motherhood journey, just over a decade ago, um, I definitely felt the frustration and the pull between like wanting to serve my community and also wanting to serve my immediate family. So that was a bit of a struggle at the beginning and just trying to figure out who I am and with each
Hmm.
pregnancy even, excuse me, with who I am
Hmm.
and how am I showing up in the world. I think now where I feel like right now is that things are flowing in a nice way, and I'm being really aware of what my energy is like and what kind of time I have to offer people. So that's primarily why I work online now with folks so that I can help them and support them as best I can without having the physical time to be in front of them.
Hmm.
But it's been a journey to get there. And one of the big, I guess, lessons that keeps coming to me when I'm feeling frustrated is that even though I'm not working out in my community right now as much as I'd like to, the message that I'm getting is that you're pouring into your family and pouring
Hmm.
into the kids right now. And and my time will come again soon.
Yeah, there's different seasons,
Yeah,
right? Different seasons of our lives, and I've certainly been there. And there will come a time sooner than you think when you're going to have lots of time again because your kids are going to be doing different things.
exactly. Right on the threshold of that. So.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Um, any final thoughts for people if they're curious, if they're hesitant about herbal medicine?
Yeah, I will. I'll share this. It might be a little bit woo, but maybe you feel called to experiment and see how it feels.
Hmm.
If you're interested in learning about herbs, when you leave this podcast and you go outside next,
Hmm.
pay attention to the next plant or couple of plants that catch your attention.
Hmm.
And have a look at them and if you know them, you know them. But if you don't, like wonder, what are you? Maybe take a picture and Google the picture because
Yeah.
chances are whatever that plant is that's catching your attention when you go outside, I can almost guarantee that there's something about that plant that your body needs. So
Ooh,
try
interesting.
it.
Oh, I'm going to do that. I'm ready to get outside after this conversation here, so I'll let you know what I discover.
Perfect.
How can people connect with you further if they want more information?
Probably Instagram is the best place where I'm
Okay.
at. My Instagram is the Vital Well, but you can also
Okay.
look up Deslee Denne. That's where I operate mostly online, and anybody that has questions, they can check out my reels. I try to put a lot of information on how to work with plants and which plants are good for what. But
Yeah.
I love talking about plants and
Yeah.
energetic healing and all of those
Yeah.
fun things.
What keeps
So.
you so inspired by it all?
Ooh, that's a great question. I just love it. I think it's so cool. I guess that's just my area. I would say I'm a huge plant nerd,
Yeah.
healing nerd. I find it so fascinating how the human body works,
Yeah.
how our consciousness works inside of our
Yeah.
body, what we can do to nourish that and explore that, how our energy works, how our
Mm.
mind can direct energy in different
Mm.
places in our body for health and healing, and how we can extend that out of our body to connect with our
Mm.
environment. I just think that's so cool.
Well, and I'm sure too, like all of us practitioners, you have your passion, your understanding for what you do, but then you've probably seen real life results with people who have
Yeah.
followed your recommendations. Do you have any favorite case studies or people who
Mm.
had really great healing responses to, maybe get off, I don't know if they were able to get off medication or just were able to settle their child or someone hormonally that had some challenges? Anything that comes to mind quickly?
Two quick ones that come to mind. Most postpartum mothers, when they're really, really struggling, and I'll recommend motherwort as it, or if they're local, I'll just drop off a bottle of tincture and they
Hmm.
give it a try. And then the message that I get back is like, "Thank you so much. I
Mm.
just that's like the one thing that I needed. I didn't know I needed."
Yeah.
Another one a case that I really love is it was an oncology case.
Mm.
A little 9-month-old baby came for some medical qigong work, and they had cancer in their eye, and they were actually like looking at potentially losing their eyesight or even losing their eye. And I did some qigong alongside of the allopathic medicine that they were doing,
Mm.
and the eye is cancer free.
Oh, amazing.
Amazing story.
That is an incredible story. Congratulations. You must feel really um, proud of that. I mean, I've like lots of things, I'm
I feel
sure.
really
Yeah.
happy for the kid and the family. I feel like it wasn't necessarily me doing it. I just
Yeah.
things flow through me. In
Yeah.
Chinese medicine school, working with cancer and tumors is
Mm.
common, and shrinking them is a common thing within the philosophy of that medicine. So I remember
Mm.
hearing about it as a student, being like, "That's so cool," and
Yeah.
being able to experience it.
Well, all practitioners, whether they want to acknowledge it or not, depending on their personal clinical approach or their philosophy, even, we're all interacting with people, and there is an energy exchange. There is something that's happening human to human, right? And we can't minimize that the power of touch, the power of human connection and the direction and how that affects our body's energy and how that energy affects our mind. And I mean, we could talk about this for another whole hour, I think, but I think it's wonderful to be able to acknowledge that and understand that we're part of people's healing. And hopefully, listeners, you got a little bit more of an idea of how today you can support people's healings from the inside out using some herbs as well.
I hope so.
Check out Deslee's Instagram. It's full of great information. I'll put all these links in the show notes, everyone. And I really appreciate your time. I appreciate your passion, your knowledge for what you're doing. You've certainly helped my life in some of the recommendations you've given me. And it just aligns with my philosophy for health too. So I really appreciate you taking the time. I know these hours when your kids are busy are precious. So I appreciate you sharing it with our listeners today too.
No, thank you. I'm really happy that you had me on, and I'll talk about this all day if I could.